What's up, babes? Welcome back to the Juicy Truth. I am Dr. Jenny. Today we are going to be talking all about pleasure and how letting pleasure be your guide can help you live your juiciest, sexiest, most pleasurable existence. And isn't that what we all want? Yes. Yes, it is. Using pleasure as your framework for how you live your life can lead to the juiciest experiences, the most abundance, the most beautiful relationships to yourselves and others, and really just lets you live this life in this turned on state, making you almost think like, how fucking good can it get? And that's the life that I want for you. So if you are looking to add more pleasure into your life, to feel more turned on, more lit up, this episode is for you. So, first things first, I want to clear up some of the shame and some of the shit that might be going on in your head when you hear the word pleasure. Because if you were to tell 15-year-old me, even 27-year-old me, that I'd be sitting here talking to strangers on the internet about pleasure, I would have literally died of embarrassment, died of shame. Because for some reason, this word pleasure is so deeply associated with feelings of shame. It feels taboo. It feels ick. So if you get the ick from the word pleasure, let's unpack this. Pleasure at its core, I looked up the definition because that's just who I am, is a feeling of happy satisfaction and enjoyment, a source of delight or joy, or a state of gratification. Now, you tell me, do any of those things sound shameful or taboo or like we should be feeling bad about receiving them? Not to me, but we automatically start to associate pleasure with sexual pleasure. And that doesn't mean that we can't receive sexual pleasure. 100%. We're going to talk about that. You know we will. But pleasure in itself is quite literally just living in a state of satisfaction, feeling joyful, feeling content. And I feel like pleasure even takes those words of joy, contentment, happiness and takes it even deeper because it's sensory. We feel it in the body. If you think about the word pleasure versus the word joy, pleasure evokes this sense of like, ooh, I feel that in my body. It feels really good. But at its root, remember the word pleasure is not associated with sex or shame or any of those things. So, first things first, I want you to get clear with yourself. When you hear the word pleasure, when you think about living a pleasure filled life, do you get the ick? Is there any shame, any taboo, or any charge that word holds for you? And first of all, why? For me, growing up as a girl who I'm pretty sure I thought I would go to hell if I masturbated, like the word pleasure was automatically associated with sexual pleasure and again felt so ick, felt so shameful. I don't think I probably even used that word until I was, 29 years old. So like 2 years ago. But truly, a feeling of satisfaction, a feeling of delight, a feeling of joy. Isn't that what we're all fucking chasing? Like, whatever you're going after in this life, career accolades, money, travel, relationships, experiences, at their core, we are all after enjoyment. We are all after gratification, happiness, and therefore, we are all looking for pleasure. So, my invitation for you is, can you let pleasure be your guiding light, your compass to this life? Because I promise you, babe, if you are using pleasure as your metric for success, your metric for your life is about to get a hell of a lot juicier. So remember Marie Kondo, like the cute little lady who comes in and organizes your home and asks you if it sparks joy? Like, can you ask anytime you're about to go do something, does this bring me pleasure? Does this turn me on? And when I say turned on, I don't mean in an aroused, like sexual state, unless you want to be turned on. But does this light you up? Does it like make you feel good? Does it make your pussy tingle? I think that sometimes before I make a decision or before I, have a conversation or do anything, is like, does this light me up? Does this turn me on? Again, doesn't always have to be in a sexual sense. It really can just be, does this feel joyful? Does this feel happy? Does this feel good in my body? If yes, go for it. Because living your life from this place of like, does this bring me pleasure? Does this turn me on? Does this light me up? And if pleasure is not the word for you, you can say, does this bring me joy? Does this give me satisfaction or enjoyment? If you want to, if you want to be kind of boring with it. I prefer the word pleasure because for me, again, this like lands so much deeper in the body. So we're all chasing pleasure to a certain degree. But what I mean by making this the guiding principle in your life is how can you take every experience in this life and truly savor it like the juicy, pleasurable experience that it is? And a really great way to start doing this is by, well, first of all, connecting into your body because pleasure is such a felt emotion. We feel all of our emotions, right? But pleasure just lands a little bit deeper in the body. Again, if this word doesn't resonate with you, feel free to substitute contentment, happiness, joy, whatever it is. For me, pleasure feels good because it's also like I'm reclaiming this word that felt so shameful for so long. So it feels a little, badass. So I invite you, if the word pleasure gives you any sort of ick, feels like taboo in any sort of way, I'm really inviting you to reclaim that word. Reclaim your ability to create pleasure in your life, whether that is sexual or not, because quite literally you were built for it. Pleasure is your default state. Happiness is your default state. It is your birthright. We are spiritual soul beings who are existing in a physical body on a fucking floating rock in the middle of a universe, a multiverse that is so big that our minds can't even comprehend. Like, first of all, we need to stop taking shit so fucking seriously because we are just like on this floating rock in a meat suit as a spiritual being, like just having this experience. And your body is meant to experience pleasure and experience all that this like earthly realm, this material realm has to offer. I don't know what all of you think about like past lives coming back, as something else like a fucking rock or a tree or something. I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about that. Jury's still out. I guess we'll find out when I'm gone. But to me, we are here living this one opportunity in this physical body, and we might as well make the fucking most of it, right? And I spent way too many years of my life feeling like, is this really all that there is? Is this is this it? And I think there's a lot of people out there living that way, and truly they need to reclaim their sense of pleasure to get more out of this existence. I sometimes joke that like YOLO is actually pretty deep, like you only live once, because literally you only live once in this physical body. So again, you might as well fucking enjoy it. So following your pleasure is quite literally your innate right as a human on this planet. But I feel like along the way we put so many stories attached to pleasure. We put so much shame attached to it. We feel like, especially if you grew up Catholic like me or in any sort of religion or culture that kind of makes you feel bad for taking more than you need. Pleasure can sometimes feel like, oh, I don't need that. That's too much. Like that's okay. Like, do you get what I'm saying? For me, growing up, like pleasure just didn't feel like it was really important. It felt shameful. It felt like, oh, who am I to take more than I need? But I'm here to tell you that the more that you claim pleasure, the more that you invite pleasure into your life, the more turned on and lit up you become, the more you can extend yourself and pour into others, and the more opportunities that come to you, the more abundance that comes to you. Quite literally, living in a frequency or a state of pleasure is magnetic as fuck. We all know that person who like really seems to have like a zest for life, quote unquote. They really enjoy things. When they sit down and have a meal, they freaking savor it. When they're out on the dance floor, they like tear it up. They're fully in their bodies. They're loving it. We see those people, and what happens when somebody's embodied in pleasure, they're truly enjoying themselves. They're in a state of flow, of happiness, of contentment. It either A, triggers the fuck out of you, which means you have some work to do in your ability to receive pleasure, receive happiness, joy, whatever it might be. You got some work to do, sister. Because this used to be me. I used to be triggered as fuck when I would see especially women who were just happy and content and pleasure filled. But isn't that what we should all want? Is to see other women on this planet like living in their bodies, fully inhabiting them, fully embracing their pleasure. Like to me now, that's what I love to see. I passed by somebody in their car today who was like having a full-blown jam session, sitting at a red light. And it just brought me so much joy because you could tell they were getting so much joy out of it. The energy, the frequency of joy and pleasure is contagious. It is magnetic. So, you being embodied in your pleasure, you feeling joyful, feeling happy, feeling content, will either trigger the fuck out of people. I think there's especially like a war on happy women because God knows what happens when there's a bunch of happy women out in the world. Like, we could probably take it over. We're pretty fucking powerful. So, you might trigger people. Again, that's okay. You get to still be living in this state where things feel good for you. And we get to ask ourselves the question of, like, how good can it get? Like, quite literally, how good can it get? Can you even multiply the goodness and the pleasure that you experience in this life? So, you might trigger people. That's okay. That's their work to do. Or you might turn somebody else on. Again, not in a sexual sense. You might light somebody up, like light a little fire in them. When I saw this guy at the stoplight, like jamming out, what did I do? I cranked up my music even louder and danced along with him because that is contagious. Seeing somebody who's embodying their pleasure and their joy is so magnetic, and it really inspires us, inspires you to create that state for yourself. Again, it is such a magnetic frequency that if anybody is like triggered or turned off by you being in this state of joy and bliss and pleasure, that's more on them. That's more on their work to do in being able to receive pleasure or feel pleasure. And if this is you, if you get triggered by people who are in this state, hell, you might even be triggered by me talking about this. I want you to use this as an invitation of like, oh, okay, what work do I get to do where I can actually exist in my body and like feel things that feel good and not feel shameful about it, not feel like, I'm taking something from somebody else. I think there's this like encoding almost in women, especially around pleasure. It's like, if I feel this good, that means it's being taken away from somebody else. Or if I am, experiencing this amazing experience, this abundance of money, of opportunities, of this beautiful relationship, whatever it might be, whatever you're experiencing that feels really good, we almost inherently think, oh, I can't take this much because it must be taken away from somebody else. We have this like scarcity or lack perspective when in reality, abundance and feeling good is an unlimited resource. And the more that we can tap into this, the more that we can almost like, it's almost like taking like a little sparkler, like you have the fireworks on 4th of July, whatever. You light one sparkler, it starts to like sparkle off, and you can put the tip of the sparkler onto another one and that lights it. I almost see this as like seeing another woman or another person who's embodied in their pleasure and their joy is lighting your sparkler and letting you be lit up as well. Or it's triggering the fuck out of you. And again, you got some work to do, sister. Like, and if that's the work that you need to do, there's plenty of room for healing. And it actually gets to be a really fun process. But you have to dive through like why pleasure feels so difficult for you to achieve, to receive, to maintain. And a lot of that is really just around the stories that you have about receiving good things, abundance, money, opportunities, relationships, whatever that might be. And again, this was me for the longest time. Like, I never felt like I could take more than I needed. I really wasn't able to tap into my body and like feel full feelings of joy. I was just kind of like, I was like good. I was fine, but I wasn't like lit up, turned on, magnetic. And this is something I'm still practicing on embodying. Like, embody it till you become it, right? Not fake it till you make it. We don't want to fake happiness or fake contentment, but embody it till you become it. Find ways where you can embody pleasure in your life right fucking now. As you're listening to this podcast, like literally as I'm recording this podcast, here's what I have on the pleasure menu. Here's what's bringing me pleasure, contentment, joy. I have a crystal in my hand because it feels good. I had an essential oil that I put on because I love the smell of it. I have fuzzy socks and slippers on because they feel cozy. I'm sitting up against a comfy chair with a cozy, soft pillow behind me. I have candles and a flower at the back, like a vase of flowers in the background. Literally, pleasure can be so simple, but it's about appreciating these simple things as well. And if you want to start connecting to pleasure, one of the easiest ways to do that is with your five senses. So, what I just said a minute ago is like, what's on my pleasure menu? This is something that I like to practice often. It's a little, daily practice that I do is like, what can I do in my external environment and my internal environment that makes this experience more pleasurable? Your five senses are an amazing place to start because to be able to experience our five senses, we have to be in the present moment. In order to smell a smell that smells good, in order to feel a texture on our skin that feels good, we literally have to be present, and pleasure can really only happen in the present moment. So can you like revamp your external environment to be more conducive to pleasure? Can you, even take experiences that maybe aren't usually very pleasurable and turn them into a more enjoyable experience? An example of this for me is doing charts or doing notes on my computer. I freaking hate it. It is like my least favorite part about my job as a doctor. So I put together a playlist that like really gets me in a good mood when I'm, about to do some charting. I sit in a cozy chair when I'm about to do it. I light a candle. I have one of my favorite drinks with me. Like this is just an example, but really you can infuse any experience of your life to be more pleasurable. When you're taking a shower, do you just like hop in, scrub yourself down as quickly as possible and then hop back out? Yeah, sometimes we need to do that. But can you slow down for 5 minutes and actually enjoy your shower? Can you light a candle in the background? Can you make the lighting a little bit softer and more gentle? Can you spend a couple minutes enjoying the scent of the products you're using, the feel of it on your skin? Give yourself a scalp massage or something that feels good. Like, you get what I'm saying here? Pleasure is not this like unattainable state where we have to like fucking go meditate on top of a mountain forever to be able to experience it. No, pleasure is something that is accessible to you. I would argue 24/7, 365 days a year. Even if you are moving through something like anger, grief, frustration, annoyance, you can still find pleasure in those experiences. And that's actually something that, they talk a lot about in the book Existential Kink. It's basically how the experiences that maybe aren't so pleasurable, your shadow work and working with the sides of you that maybe don't feel lovable, or even like the state of not having what you want yet, like longing for something that you want, how all of that can actually be turned into pleasure, and turned into kink. So if you're interested in that side of things and really how to navigate, maybe challenging experiences in your life or shadow work or whatever it might be and make it more of a pleasurable, enjoyable experience, Existential Kink is a fantastic read. I'm currently rereading it because it's just, that good. So, what I want to invite you into is like, well, first of all, what is your relationship to the topic of pleasure? Is this episode like giving you so much ick because I've said the word pleasure so many times? Pleasure. Is that weird for you? Is it giving you the ick? Why? Why does pleasure feel so weird for you? Was it modeled to you growing up that like pleasure is not for you? It's unavailable? Did you ever have anybody in your life showing you what it looks like to feel good or how to feel good? Like, start to get curious with yourself. Again, it's about like awareness and where you're at right now so that you can start to let pleasure be more of a dominant presence in your life. And again, make your life just a hell of a lot juicier. So, do you get the ick and why? Because pleasure is truly just being in a state of joy. If you can't get down with the word pleasure yet, use the word joy, use the word happiness, use the word contentment, whatever tickles your pickle, my friend. And then what I want you to do is start finding small moments throughout your day, little practices where you can slow down, you can invite in pleasure, and you can really savor it. Because what the fuck is the point of being on this earth in this meat suit? In this one time experience, you are a limited time offer on this earth. What's the fucking point if you're not enjoying it? And if that offends you, sorry, not sorry. But like, What are we here to do if we're not here to enjoy life? If we're not here to savor it? We're literally not put on this planet to rush through things as quickly as possible just to feel like numb or fine all of the time. Like, that's not it. And I lived many years of my life feeling this way, kind of on and off. So I can empathize with you. I've been there. And that doesn't mean I still don't have days where, things feel challenging or pleasure feels difficult to attain, but you gotta try. Like, find little ways you can start to embody more pleasure. You can start to invite more in. Like what I said with your shower, like, can you make that a more enjoyable experience? When you make your coffee or your tea in the morning, can you just slow down? I think such a big part of pleasure is like slowing the fuck down. You don't have to rush everything. Everything is not an emergency. Like, yes, there are things in this life that are time sensitive, but we put so much pressure on ourselves to, oh, I'm just going to do this real quick. We just rush ourselves so often. And pleasure is truly about enjoyment, and enjoyment comes from slowness, it comes from savoring. You have to be able to be in your body and be present to experience pleasure. So if you have difficulty with connecting to your body, go back to episode 2. But there's a lot of ways that you can start getting more embodied, more in touch with your body so that you can feel more pleasure. Breath work, dance, meditation, self pleasure. All of these things help us connect back into our body and inviting in your five senses. So, can you start to make your experiences more pleasurable by bringing in elements that delight your five senses? Can you, while you do something mundane, put on a playlist that you love? Can you light a candle that smells really good? Can you get up and take a break to go get some fresh air and get outside for 5 minutes while you're doing it? Like, this doesn't have to be anything big. If you want to, have a whole pleasure date and like do everything in your power that feels good that day, like, fuck yeah, please do. But I also invite you, as a way to let pleasure really be your guide in this life, like, start inviting it into every single experience. When you eat a meal, can you slow down and actually taste it and savor it and appreciate it versus like just rushing through your lunch break as quickly as possible, maybe working through lunch and being distracted? Like, these are all just ways you can start to bring pleasure into your life that feel maybe a little bit more attainable. If you're already there, you're like, Dr. Jenny, I already do all of these things. First of all, I love that for you. How can you deepen this practice? How can you be even more turned on and lit up? And one of the ways that you can start to do this is by doing this for yourself first, but also inviting other people to do it with you. Remember that pleasure is contagious. Pleasure is magnetic. It's the sparkler that lights the other sparkler, and so on and so forth. And I think especially as women, we really need to see examples of other women who are turned on, who are lit up. So if you are one of these women who really feels like you're embodying this, how can you help the other women in your life do the same? How can you invite them into this practice as well? Maybe you send them this episode. Maybe you have a conversation with them about incorporating little practices into their day to day to experience more pleasure. Maybe you guys just have a conversation about it. Like, what are their thoughts on pleasure? We need to start having more open and honest dialogues about what pleasure feels like in our body, how we can have more of it, how we can model more of it, because again, that creates such a huge ripple effect. And yes, there is also this element that sex and self-pleasure can be pleasurable, but there's so many other things in this life that bring us pleasure as well. Being your genuine, authentic self feels good, feels pleasurable. Do more of that. Being turned on, being lit up by your life is pleasurable. Supporting other women in achieving this or getting to this state as well is pleasurable. Something like setting boundaries or removing time from people in your life who are draining, that's pleasurable. Even these experiences you maybe wouldn't associate with pleasure can be pleasurable. Anything that connects you back into your body, anything that allows you to be creative, whether that's through your clothes and your expression, through sharing your story by conversations, or through food, or anything else that really allows you to connect back into your body and experience something that feels good. All of this is pleasure. Remembering that following your pleasure or joy leads to more opportunities, leads to abundance, leads to more of the same. If you are embodied in a state of pleasure, in a state of joy, what do you think you're going to get more of? You're going to get more things that feel pleasurable, that feel joyful. And remember, we're all chasing this at the core. It doesn't matter if you're viewing it through the lens of like, oh, I want to make more money, or I want to travel more, I want a better relationship. We all truly are after joy, contentment, happiness, and pleasure. So, how can you get more of that without your external circumstances, like the amount of money you're making, have to change? Like, how can you embody pleasure first? That's the ultimate hack and kind of speeding things up and getting what you actually want is, can you just chase joy or chase pleasure instead of chasing the next career opportunity or the certain amount of money or whatever it is? Can you just do what feels joyful? Can you do what feels fun? Can you do what feels pleasurable for you? Because I'm gonna pretty much guarantee that you following your joy, especially if you own your own business, if you're an entrepreneur, following your joy will lead to opportunities, will lead to abundance, will lead to relationships, will lead to all of these things because it's magnetic. Quite literally, you were built for this. You were put on this earth to feel good. We wouldn't have five senses that can lead us pleasure. We wouldn't have a freaking clitoris that is available to us to create so much pleasure if we weren't literally built for it. So this really is your default state. It really is your right to claim pleasure. And if you are not experiencing pleasure in your life, sexually or otherwise, it's your responsibility to reclaim it. So I really invite you to do that after this episode, literally during this episode. And I want to see how you're practicing this and how you're embodying this. So if something from this episode like sparks pleasure in you or gives you an idea of how you can bring more pleasure into your life, please, please, please let me know, because it would bring me so much pleasure if you tell me how this episode inspired you to create more in your life. This conversation, this whole episode was really encouraged by a conversation I had with one of my clients who, I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. She has been navigating years and years and years of repressed, trauma in her body, sexual trauma, as well as some pretty significant medical diagnoses that, kind of led her to not really trust her body, to not feel safe in her body. And pleasure was like the last thing on her mind. She didn't even feel comfortable practicing any sort of self-pleasure, not having sex with anybody else. Like, all of that felt completely unsafe. So through the work that we've been doing together, over the last year or so, she's been such a beautiful testament of like addressing your shadow side, addressing the parts of you that feel unworthy or unlovable, rewriting the stories around that, creating a much safer, healthier relationship with her body, all the way up to the point where now her her overarching word or theme for 2025 is pleasure. She is like a perfect example of somebody who has really been able to connect back to her body and remember that she is absolutely worthy of pleasure, and there's nothing that she needs to do or change about herself to be worthy of that. And that goes for you as well. If you are listening to this podcast, you are literally worthy and deserving of the most amount of pleasure you could ever imagine, and then some, just by being you, just by being on this planet as the human that you are. And if any part of you does not believe that, or has stories about not being, worthy of receiving pleasure or feeling good or taking more than you need, like, that is the work that you get to do. If you want to do it with a guide, this is the work that I do. You get to untangle what these stories are, what any shame associated with feeling good in your body, loving your body, cultivating a healthy relationship with her, experiencing pleasure. Any hangups that you have around this, any shame you have around this gets to be dissolved, gets to be alchemized so that you can feel so deeply connected into your body that you get to live your life from a place of how can I experience more pleasure? How can I feel even better? How can I have even more of this? And I really want to invite you into this because my client a couple years ago, I don't think she even used the word pleasure. I think that was not in her vocabulary. I think it gave her the ick. She was like, absolutely not. And now it's like her overarching theme for the entire year. When she's making decisions, when she's getting dressed in the morning, when she's saying yes or no to an experience, when she's eating, when she's doing anything, she's asking the question, does this bring me pleasure? Does this turn me on? Does this light me up? I'm doing the same, and I really, really invite you to do this too. Because even in these moments where pleasure doesn't feel super accessible to us, it's just a boring day to day life, we're kind of on autopilot. You can snap out of autopilot mode by tapping into your pleasure. And truly, that is what we are here to do on this earth. You are here to live a life that lights you up, that turns you on, and that inspires the other women in your life to do the same. Because when we do this work, everyone in our life benefits. Whether you were in a relationship with them, whether they see you driving in your car, having a dance party on the street, like it doesn't matter. The more people, the more women, especially who are embodied in the pleasure that they so rightly deserve, the better this world becomes. So I'm telling you, you tapping into your pleasure, you slowing down and savoring, you experiencing and enjoying your life is quite literally changing the world. And I do not say that, I do not take that lightly because I do believe that the more women who are willing to claim the fact that pleasure is just part of the game. We get to be here to feel good. We get to create experiences and a life that feels juicy and turned on and lit up. The more women who are living in that state, that's the kind of world I want to live in. That's the kind of world that just feels better for everyone. So I really invite you to find ways in which you can really infuse pleasure in your day-to-day life. Can you make this your compass for how you make decisions, for how you show up? Like, how good can it get? How can I bring pleasure to this experience? Like, these are the questions we get to ask ourselves. And the more you can connect to this state of pleasure, the more you can experience it in your day to day life, your life is going to get so much juicier. And I cannot wait to hear about it. I want you to share with me after you listen to this episode, what are you doing in your day to day life that can bring you more pleasure? How are you bringing in your five senses? How are you making the mundane experiences more enjoyable? How are you taking experiences that feel enjoyable already and amplifying them? How much better can they feel? How good can it get? Literally. So if you take things from this episode, you change things in your life, you start to create a pleasure menu for yourself, you start to savor more often, you bring things into your, in your environment that feel really good, feel really juicy. I want to hear from you because quite literally, it brings me pleasure. It brings me so much joy to know that you are prioritizing your pleasure. And there we already have the ripple effect. You living in your pleasure, you being embodied, you doing things that feel good inspires everyone else around you. So go out there, live your juiciest, most pleasure filled, delicious life. And I will see you on the next episode. I love you. To your pleasure.